Acres is better than I remember.
Exactly. It's a lot. There's more flavor.
And that's got that
And
burn that I'm
catchy.
looking for.
And
Like
to
right
me, I
now.
got a little corn flavor in it too, like roasted
did.
corn
Yep,
flavor.
yep.
in there.
I
Yeah.
had that in my shit this morning.
I didn't eat any corn.
This is a children's
Are we
program.
supposed to be recording right now? Because it's not.
It
It
looks
is
like
recording.
It's recording.
Hence
No,
it
it's
says ISO record.
I was trying to scare the shit. I was waiting to see the from last week.
No.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, let's get a face going here.
All right, we got a face. So this is a finishing the bottle episode. So we got to. How do we like? Can I? Wait, which one did I pick? I think I picked Jack. So I'm going Jack. I'm gonna go Jack. I'm gonna pretend I'm drunk.
What are you doing?
I'm looking at my piece of paper.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like half asleep right now. Oh,
All right.
There it
Good
is.
enough. I don't know what the
Jackie.
fuck that was all about. But,
yep.
You know,
We tried.
we
Actually,
did.
you know,
I liked your buddy that had the comment of like what's Logan trying to do? And I'm like, I think he thinks he's trying to hide behind the box, but he doesn't quite understand how big he is and how small the box is.
What do they have? Like, what's the nickname for a BJ over this across the pond? What do they call it? Do they
Wouldn't
call
be
it
a
like
BJ?
A blowjob?
No, there's not like like
A winking
a
Willie?
pip
or
and a
pip,
like a yeah.
pip pip
No.
cheerio?
No, nothing. A slob of the knob.
I believe
nothing.
that's racist. What you're trying
No,
to
it's
do.
not racist. It's just questioning. I've never been across the pond, so I don't know.
All right, we're already a couple minutes into this
Ah,
episode.
we're a
so,
minute.
So this is Finishing the Bottle. Welcome to Finishing the Bottle.
We just
who-
had.
You didn't do the clap.
Oh,
There it is.
Wait. There we go. All right, why don't you introduce us?
All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Midnight Movie Distillery. This is the Finishing the Bottle portion. I'm one of your hosts, Logan Lynch.
I'm another one of your hosts.
Is that a dramatic pause or do you forget?
I think he's a snake, is what it is. He's part
no, I
snake.
think he forgets who he is for a while.
I thought it.
Oh,
That's what that sound was.
that's awesome. And I'm Lon Black, and today we're finishing the bottle between the
definitely
Shining
finishing
and
the bottle.
Thing.
We have
So
several bottles.
So our previous episode, I wanted to cleanse the palate, so I went with some Whiskey Acres. That's why we got Whiskey Acres and Larceny on the.
Because
on the docket as well.
even though Jim Beam won the episode and has moved
Jimmy
on,
Black Label.
Jimmy
Black
Black
Label,
Label.
has moved on to the final of the $30 or less bourbon. Whoever thunk it? Well, apparently it's our fault because we picked it. But anyway, so because of that, we decided, I'm not going to drink that.
Which is weird.
Because we're saving it up. We're saving.
But
ourselves.
we went back to a bourbon that lost in the first round.
But who did it lose
He
to?
did. He went back to. I went to. Did we even have Whiskey Acres in there?
Yes.
We did.
We had Whiskey
Well,
Acres
not
in
Whiskey
there?
Acres. We didn't have
Yeah.
Whiskey
I
Acres.
was going to say,
but we
Whiskey
had
Acres
Larceny.
was not in there.
What?
Larceny was.
Larceny got beat out by Jefferson's very small batch.
Oh.
Yeah, that's understandable, though.
But then that which got beat out. then
either
by
way, I'm
Beer
drinking
Barrel.
Jack for right now because apparently.
You went back to the Jack.
Yeah, because I apparently forgot. That's what I picked to win, but I thought it was Jim, but it was apparently Jack. So.
See, you're doing the Jack Daniels drinker's finger. Did you notice that?
What's a drinker's
You're
finger?
pointing
What's
with
my-
your pinky holding
When
your
in doubt,
glass.
pinky out.
That is
That's
a
for tea.
Jack Daniels
Is it?
drinker move.
Is it? I don't
You
know.
do this and you talk with your pinky.
Why?
But I don't know why. He's the one doing
Because I
it.
guess if you did your first finger, that seems rude if you go like.
That's a Scotch thing.
Is it? Oh, yeah, I could see Scotch.
Yeah,
Believe
fuck
it or
you.
not,
Yeah, it's
pinky
like,
is-
hey,
Yeah.
I'm drinking. Shut up.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so I did go. I'm keeping true to the finishing the bottle and actually drinking what we actually had.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm drinking Larceny.
Larceny. It's
Which
not.
was a loser.
He forgets there's an R in there. It's not Larceny. It's
Larceny.
Larceny.
It's Larceny.
I went with Whiskey Acres because you know what? We had. That's
When
not in
when
the
when
bracket
did
at
we
all.
have that?
That wasn't in the bracket. That was up against. Oh Jesus
Oh, that was in the-
Christ!
in the
We've only
last-
got like 200
in the last-
episodes.
Yeah.
round.
Please go back and watch.
No,
it.
no,
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 it
in
was
the
not
last
in the brackets
bracket.
at all. It wasn't in these.
No, this says
brackets at
not
all.
Larceny. Whiskey Acres was not
Whiskey
in
Acres
there.
was not in the bracket because it's over $30.
Yes, it is.
So when did we have this?
Before this, in the $40 bracket.
Well, that's why I said in the previous bracket round is what I said.
Oh, I thought you meant previous bracket
No.
round,
No,
Oh
not the
Christ!
previous
bracket round.
brackets
Round.
Wow.
round.
I don't know what is going on here. I'm gonna keep drinking.
Anyway,
So the movies. Let's. Again, I don't want this to be an episode of us beating this shit to death.
We're
we
not.
talked about those two movies now ad infinitum and about what we liked and what we didn't like. and sometimes we come up with some new things and new views on them, and sometimes we don't. The bourbons, we've already kind of announced. We're not fans of the winners, and we're going back to the losers. I don't understand that, but that's what we're doing.
Well, you and I didn't go back to the losers.
No, that's true.
A certain somebody did.
Yeah, yeah,
I just like the bottle.
yeah.
He just
'Cause
likes
it's
the
got a
keyhole.
It's got a keyhole.
Got the right key, baby, but the wrong
if,
keyhole.
if you look at it carefully,
Oh,
there
Jesus,
is a
he
key.
is like obsessed with
There
that.
is a keyhole, and if you look through
And
the
yet
glass,
he chose the thing over the shining.
you can see there's a key inside the keyhole. Even though any normal person would realize that the key on the back of this label is like pointing down, as opposed to a keyhole where the key would be going in this way.
Well, but you
Because
couldn't
if they
see that.
showed you a key coming at you, it would just look like a line.
But at least it'd be a little bit more authentic.
So this is our drunken stupor portion of
Hey,
the episode.
we have more
Uh,
episodes to
Yeah,
record.
that's
so.
true, we do. I don't think we need to really beat this to death much anymore. I think
No.
the matchup that's coming up is going to be interesting, but it
Yeah, we could build up the
seems
other one.
like I know what direction some people are going to go in this.
I do, which is sad, just because
I think I'm the rogue one.
I like the other movie as well.
So, so
We
that
could show what's coming up, right?
we can.
Let's
we
do
can.
that.
So on the
Actually,
board-
we can
go
show
ahead.
up if you want to show bottles that are coming
Yeah,
up
yeah,
too.
yeah. Right.
Let's
So
do
we've
that.
got beer barrel bourbon going up against
Crown
Crown
Royale.
I still have a hard time saying that we're actually putting Crown Royal.
I'm
in this
very shocked.
bracket. But it was actually pretty smooth, pretty light whiskey, not a
Yeah.
bourbon. It's a whiskey. It's
Whiskey.
from our friends to the north, but
Okay.
Screw
So
Calvin.
let's
so
bring
that'll
up the
be
movies
interesting.
again,
And then the movies,
movie wise.
Aliens versus Reanimator.
So Aliens is the sequel to Alien, just so
Correct.
in case people don't realize that S could be flipped into a 2.
Who would not know that?
People that have watched this or this is the first time they're
People?
understanding. People. What do you mean, you people? Sorry. It's
Yeah.
that
Off
one.
the rails already.
Yes, we are. But yeah, I liked both movies. It's just this was very hard, and I think we both have beaten that to death. But it's the whiskeys were a lot easier, I think, to kind of pick through. But
Yeah, and honestly, to the point of the whiskeys, and we kind of mentioned this before in another episode, so I might be repeating myself, but I think there's just a stigma with Jack Daniels and Jim Beam
because of their
because-
cost point, their price point.
because their price is so low and they've been around for so long, and now that there's like high-end bourbons out there that are like 70, 80, 90, 100 bucks, that these seem like swill because of that.
Yeah.
So there's
Do you think they paved the way though?
no, I think they were bourbon. They were bourbon when bourbon was not even a big thing.
Right, they've been around for like decades, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, 100 years.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Do you think they, because everybody usually starts with Jim and Jack in
Correct.
some way, right? And I feel like that's one of the things that and I mentioned it before too. We've got, if you're a Jim person, you're a Jim person for life, and Jack you hate, and vice versa. And I think that's where, like you said, they have kind of fallen by the wayside. But if you think about, I look at it more kind of like the craft brewery as well. There was Budweiser and Miller Lite, right? For the longest time.
And then Sam Adams came along.
Then Sam Adams came along,
That's true.
and then all of a
Sam
sudden
Adams was the
craft
first one
breweries
that
started
started
coming
doing
up,
craft brewery,
and
yeah.
now all of a sudden it's like, okay, if I'm throwing a party and I just want to get some beer, I'll get Miller Lite. If I'm having a couple friends over, we're going craft brews, right? So I think that's kind of what's happening here is, some of those other distilleries might fall off. Some of them might get too big of heads, and
But I do think the other thing, like to that point though, is even the two staples, and technically there's probably others as well, but the staples out there have realized that, we need to have like another brand that has a totally different name, that we can charge a little bit more for.
Which is what everybody else does, like Buffalo.
would
Trace.
those
Right, well, and that's
would
what
those
I'm-
staples then be paper clips? Sorry,
Clippy.
Clippy. I can help you in office.
But the point is, it's like I think even because back to the beer side, the same things happen with those the kind of the Budweisers and the I don't know about Coors Light, but like certainly Budweiser where they have their specialty.
The other one would be Miller, is what you're looking for.
Well, Coors Light or Miller, I guess. But just in terms of it's like where they have either start up their own kind of like sub-brand,
Right.
or they've just bought other brands that, like,
Well,
you know.
Technically, Budweiser owns like 30% of craft brewers now.
Well, and that's what I mean.
They bought Goose Island in Chicago, so.
But you know, I think back to the point. I mean, I think it's. I don't know my fucking point.
Very
No.
intelligently said.
Yes, completely understood.
I do
like
think
The
I do
Shining.
think that the craft whiskey market has made these seem like swill. I do think that there's a stigma against them now because they're $20, and now it's sort of known. Like if you really like bourbon, then you like the $40 or $50 range, right? And anything less than that, oh, well, it can't be good because it's $20. So there's definitely a snobbish. Somebody called us a snobs one time, and I think he's right. When we get used to the upper branded whiskey, the upper priced whiskey,
But that's kind of how everything is, right? Like if you start
agreed.
going to a fancy restaurant and only going to fancy restaurants, and then you go to Burger King, you're going to be like, oh, this is fucking disgusting.
but now it's
So-
become a stigma because now it's like, oh, you don't even talk about it. Oh, that sucks. Well, you haven't
But
tried in a
that's-
while.
But that's where our blind taste test, I think, kind of proves that.
100%.
You might
90%.
know. We'll go 90%. You might know what you think you know might not be true, and I do like that. It's very frustrating when you think you're spot on and you're completely fucking wrong, but but it's fun to be able to say, okay, well, I was wrong, but you know what? Shit, it makes you think twice about, hey, that $30 bourbon, and in this case, I think it's 21 versus $22.
21, 22.
And they made out some $30, $29.99,
They did.
bourbon. So I don't think price point is everything, and I think that's one thing I'm learning from all of this is that
Well, also the other thing about it is, in reality, price is the problem with. The problem with price is the fact that, like, when you are an established
because if
brand,
it's a Warwick, that's a problem.
I was going to go for that joke. I was going to say the problem with price is he talks too much.
That's why I paused, because I was waiting for you guys to come up with something.
I wanted
but
to
no,
get you right at the.
but in reality, when you are like major established brands, your price is often low because your costs have come down because you now have
Correct.
like 100, 200 years of history behind you and like
nailing it.
right,
Yeah.
and your purchasing power is so much greater. Therefore, your cost of buying the ingredients goes down. Some of the reason why small batch distilleries are as expensive, it's not. Some of it, Puppy
Puffy?
is
Puff
what I
Daddy?
said.
So say-
Puff Daddy's got a whiskey?
Puppy.
Is that why you're sitting funny? No. Anyway.
But you know, it's like often the reason why some of the small batch distilleries are expensive is because it's like, you know, they're trying to be small and exclusive and
Which
and
lends
whatever.
credence to the fact that they have more control over the product.
Sure.
And they can experiment with flavors and taste profiles that the big chains won't do.
Well, but
So-
in the big chain's defense, I think it's also us as people. When somebody gets something down to a science, it starts to become, and it becomes common. Then you start looking for something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start, hey, well, okay, yeah, Jack's great, but I kind of want it with a little bit of apple in it or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, then maybe they'll come out with Jack.
I
apple.
just threw
I
it in
know
my mouth.
or cherry
Wow.
flavored. Anyway,
Cherry
no.
apple would be the one for him.
Oh God.
Yes.
But I
Cherry
feel like,
apple.
but if Jack doesn't do that, and then some new guy comes along and says, "Hey, I've got cherry flavored, or cherry apple flavored, that, then you try that out." I kind of Jefferson's Voyage. We didn't even try the original stuff. We went straight to Voyage 24, I think, just on a whim, and it turned out.
It's because I found it in Costco.
Yeah,
Right, and it was
just,
relatively affordable.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, and it was something to try, but then
Yeah.
that just clicked with us, right?
because
Like,
you're thinking about it, going like, "Wow, that's a great idea." Because I
Yeah.
wonder if you really taste the sea salt, and
Son of a
you try, and you're like, "Holy shit,
Yeah.
I can taste it."
And you
It's-
can smell it.
And it
And
was-
that's why
open
I think
up.
that was
It
what
was
was upsetting to
delicious.
us was when we tried the others, we were expecting that same. We expected different flavors, but it just didn't have that gotcha factor.
Right,
And I
right.
think that's kind of what's happening with some of the Jim and Jacks is the regular ones don't have that gotcha. It's like, no, that's a staple. That's normal. That's
it tastes standard. It's,
standard,
It's almost
correct.
like the key line.
Yeah.
It's the baseline. It's everybody else now, like Whiskey Acres extends the profile. They put a little bit more tail maybe in there to get
Sure.
a little bit more corn roast out of that. Or they experiment with younger aging and seeing what they can mix with that. Or finishes. Finishes are a huge thing now. Everybody finishes in something different than what they started in, just so you get that little extra flavor out of something.
Now, how would they control the finish? Is that depending upon
Age.
the different? Okay, that's
I
the
think
age
it's
thing.
age.
It's not the mash. That's not any of that
No,
stuff.
because the recipe's the same, right? You use the same recipe and then you finish it in something.
You might
Even
vary the
Ocean
percentages,
Voyages,
though, right? And then of
vary
like
percentages of what?
of like okay, corn to
Well, that's the
Corn?
mash bill at the beginning,
corn.
right?
Yes, corn.
That's the mash bill at the beginning, right? So whatever that recipe is, but then you finish it in something different to change the flavor of it or add to the flavor,
Okay.
however you want to look at that. But I mean, really, I can't remember who the first people to do that were, but honestly, it seems like New Holland was the first one that I knew of that was doing that. Maybe Glenmorangie. No, maybe Glenmorangie came later to the batch, but to do that. But the point is, the finishing became a thing because it worked, right? Oceans is a finish.
Right.
They finish it in oak barrels, but they put it out in the ocean. They put it out to sea, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, you get one shot at it,
Yeah.
right? And if that works out great, then you've only got X amount of barrels that it works for. Hey, that worked. Let's send another one out to another portion of the ocean. Oh, that didn't work out so well.
Well,
Now we've got all these bottles.
Right, because it's you know.
But then that's where the blending comes in, right?
Well-
They could blend it in with something else, and
But then you also don't know what you're getting there because
True.
you know you're blending two different things that have different flavors to them. Where I was going was it's like, you know, wine's the same way. You have the same
true.
you have the same grape grown on the same hillside for 20 different years.
but it matters whose nasty ass feet squished it.
That will create often 20 different variations on the same flavor.
Yep.
And that's based on like how much sun it got, how much rain it got, how much
Yeah.
like
It
everything.
could
I
have been
was
the middle
about to
batch or
say-
whatever, right?
I was about to say that I don't like being the dick about this, calling you out, but I love being the dick. And I'm going to call you out. When you say blending, you never know what you're going to get because you're mixing two different flavors. Isn't that the point of blending? You take two different things and make something good out of them?
Are you doing like a Brady Bunch?
No.
Brady
What?
Oh, sorry, was that different, was that different strokes?
What?
What's it? You take the rough of the.
I don't know.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you had the facts of life.
Oh my
The
god!
facts of life. Sorry.
I think you're off by like 8 years on that one, but that's okay.
All right.
Anyway, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yes, I get it.
And they blend different
I mean,
grapes.
because you're
I'm
like,
sure.
well, you can't do that because you take two different flavors, two different oceans, and whatever, and blend them, and you're gonna. Well, that's the whole point, right? That
Well,
you
but
take
that's
them
what I'm
two
saying.
and
They
mix
might
them.
not even
But-
take
but
two
the point
different
is you-
oceans, right? You could.
But that is my point. The point is you don't know what you're going to get.
But you, okay, but that's just you plan to get something. You got two flavor profiles. You can make something good out of that because
So
you know what
then-
they both taste like. You know what
Or
they could
two-
be blended.
So
If
then
you're
two-
good
two-
at
I was
it.
gonna say,
Too
so if
bad
you're really
second
good,
doesn't
you
make
can
it-
tell what the blend is then. But
Correct.
if you're a novice and you're trying it, you might go, "Oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced bread,"
So-
only to find out, "Hey, this was Jefferson's Voyage 24, 23, we'll say, or 22 and a half, whatever, mixed with, I don't know, some other." I don't know
got-
how they
I
blend.
got-
Does Jefferson's stay within Jefferson's? Do they say, okay, we're going to mix an 8-year with, this Jefferson Voyage 24 that's only 4, or do they go outside of that? I don't know.
It's all
I'm
over
sure
the
it's-
place.
yeah.
There's blends that they mix where it's the same mash bill, but they age this one longer, age this one in oak, finish this one.
But they
in
stay
that.
within their realm, or do they go outside?
They do both, and then
Okay.
they fix up that, and that comes up with one product, and then they'll go crazy and like, well, I'm going to take this one that's a whiskey that was aged 10 years, and this one's a wheated bourbon, and we're going to mix it with this one, and this one's been finished in grape barrels or wine barrels. They'll do all that
Sherry
shit. That's
casks.
the whole point of it, is to
Yeah.
finish it.
It's a science
blend it.
experiment.
There is, just for your information, Peat Monster, one of our favorite scotches.
Peat Monster, cask strength.
Cast strength specifically, is good. Even the regular.
Even the
Peat
regular
Monster,
is
I'll
pretty
do that
good,
all day
yeah.
long, is a blended scotch made in Great Britain, bought from barrels in Scotland. My question was, all those products you're buying in Scotland are going to continually change, right? They're not going to be exactly the same. How do you get that same taste in Peat Monster all the time?
Right, what 100%.
But they do.
Because in the same way, it's like again these ideas of like the different blends, and I'm sure they
See,
I'm
that's
sure they do this, but like
Yeah,
they
you do.
I know that's why I said it slowly, but you know they have to be able to say if they're trying to experiment to try and come up with whatever the next great thing is, you'd have to imagine they're not doing it for like okay well let's experiment with these 400 barrels. They're probably taking 1 or 2 barrels and experimenting
So
with those.
We
that's
talked
where,
about
but that's
this
where
one.
the
We talked
master
about this.
distiller's got to come in and say, all right. But now I feel like that's kind of a bargaining thing at that point, right? So they go in, the master distiller goes, okay, I mixed X with Y, and now I've got Z, and they go to their guys and say, that was fucking phenomenal. Go buy 50 barrels of this, and we'll make another batch or something. I feel like that's something that it's. You almost like because if you think about it now, if I came to them and said, "Oh, you know what? I'll take another 50 barrels," versus, "Oh my God, I needed 50 barrels." I wonder
Right,
if
right,
that
right.
plays into things and how that works and how.
That's why they have typically
Or do-
one person who's the master distiller who samples it all and knows
Sure.
what that taste is.
But I think actually to Logan's point, I mean I think it's one of the things where I wonder whether, very much like classic trading places, concentrated orange juice, or frozen concentrated orange juice. It's like, do you
Where are
think?
we going with this one?
Well, but in terms of like, do you think they have people at the distillers that are like forward buying certain combinations? Because it's like, okay, so you come up with this amazing batch, this amazing combination of mixtures, and you put some barrels out there and grate some bottles, and it sells really, really well. And then next time you come along, the people that you got those other barrels from are like, yes, that $500 that we used to charge you for that barrel, that's
See.
now going to be 5,000 barrels
Sure.
because
We know,
we
yeah.
know that you sold that really well. Therefore, you're going to be paying up for that one. Like how do you do that when you're buying from other distillers?
Well, I think, I mean, first of all, that's to me, one of the crimes of the liquor world is when the manufacturers force a rarity on something that's becoming popular. Meaning Blanton's, perfect example. You used to be able to get Blanton's $40 a bottle any day of the week, and it was the best bourbon in the world. Everybody went crazy over it. Then all of a sudden, they started limiting you. You can only buy 1 or 2 bottles at a store at a time. But they were still $40-45. Then all of a sudden, you can't get it anymore. Well, wait a minute, I got to have my Blanton's. And now it's like $70
It's the
a
drug
bottle.
dealer.
And then it's like $80. And then it's like, you can't get it.
Yeah.
So how much are they? Well, we're going to hold it back. How much are you willing to pay for this bottle?
Yeah.
You want
Right.
it? You want it? How much are you willing to give me for it?
Yeah.
That's fucked, man.
That's the drug dealer way, right?
That is
like,
totally
hey,
that.
we'll give you a taste for pretty cheap,
And that
then
pisses me
once
off.
we get you hooked.
Eagle Rare is another one. Eagle Rare I thought was an okay whiskey, okay
Now,
bourbon.
is that though? Because
It was good.
Those two that you just named aren't those are both,
Both
Buffalo
Trace.
Trace.
Yep.
Now, is that?
And you know who else?
I wish. Yeah.
Pappies.
Yeah, and I feel like
Puppies.
Puppies.
puppies. Yeah. You know what? You could be onto something. We could make.
Puppy Ben
we
Winkleman?
could make. Yeah, we could make a low cost one. Call it Puppy,
Puppies.
and people would be like, "Oh, I got puppies, Van Winkle," and you're like,
It would sell great in Ireland. Oh, we got puppies.
Some
Yeah.
puppies.
We got
Puppies.
some puppies.
No,
Like £9.
I just when.
I hope he can hear me.
But when you've got these people buying this stuff, and I think it all comes down to money, right? But then
It does all come
when
down to
when you've
money.
got people that are
Yes.
going to that extreme of we know what we've got, and we're gonna charge you an ass load of money for it. But who are those? Are the distillers part of that portion though? Like he was mentioned, the buying, where get me sherry cask, for I need 50 of them. I want to try something, or are they just like, hey, we had somebody go buy 50 sherry casks. What can you do with it? How does that work? Like, do they, is it they
So-
a little of both? I'm assuming, but
So I can't speak for everything. I can only tell you what
I want
I've
you to.
seen or heard about in certain accidents. And they will have bottles and bottles of certain, not barrels, bottles and bottles of certain profiles that they have that they mix. and they line them up and they letter them, and it's very scientific, not scientific, but very structured, where they
Sure.
know what's going in each one of them. They've got little drams that they can add a little bit more of this and this and this to get it, and then they keep track of what they've done so they know what that mix is to initially start. I know that there are some distillers, and honestly, I don't know who, but I've seen this done. AI. They use AI
That's what I was leaning at.
to take flavor profiles and figure out what percentages of things would work, and then they'll try them out and they'll do them and see what it comes up with.
Now, is that more recent that they've started doing
No,
that?
they've been
or
doing it
is-
for hundreds of
Yeah,
years.
they've been
I was gonna
doing
say,
that.
yeah.
It's 2,000 years old, actually.
Yeah.
They've been using AI.
Zero,
Yeah.
0 AD or BC.
I saw this report probably about a year, 2 years ago. So that AI was being used. And AI is
I always
just now
wondered that, like, AI is on the forefront now, but I feel like it's been out there for a while. I mean,
It has.
Look
Yeah.
at Space 2001:
been
A Space Odyssey.
learning.
Yes.
It's been learned.
I'm afraid
Now
I
it's-
can't.
now
So
it's-
that would be awesome, is if you're the master distiller and you're like, I wonder if I punched in, this blend with this blend, and it's like, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. That'd be great. And it's a
Well,
nice big
we're at
old
26.
26 minutes. Nice. We hit our mark.
So I enjoyed this conversation. We didn't talk much about the movies. We beat them to death anyway.
Yeah,
We
we
talked
already
a little
talked
more
about
bourbon, and I think that's the point of this episode. Is we go off on tangents.
Yeah, we do.
No, us.
And I kind of like this one. I liked where we were going with this one. So
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
I enjoyed
ending
it.
on a
Hope you
good
did
note.
too.
Okay. Now I can say like, comment, and subscribe.
No,
right?
we
No,
say
we
that
said
at
it on
the
the
end. We've got a
end.
little tag at the
Oh,
end.
mother
I
bitch.
swear to God, you don't pay attention to these shows.
Do you remember like 3 or 4 weeks ago when we actually recorded that whole
And we
section?
did an ending.
That's why it's 3 whole weeks ago.
Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Goodbye.
Anyway,
We love you.
Bye.
Oh, there.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Be sure to follow us on social media.
How come you got more?
Because you're lame. You don't know what to say.
What are we supposed to do? Like, just
I
like,
don't know.
like
Logan,
literally time
I
it
could
all
have been like,
out?
tune into the next
You
one
keep
or something.
screwing it
Yeah,
up.
but
You're gonna knock
Okay,
it
this is
whole
like take
airtime.
15. And like, I only screwed up like 3 of them. You screwed up like
Look,
8.
we're just gonna keep this one, okay?
This is the one.
This is
All right.
it.
This
We're
one
done.
right here.
Okay.
Finish
Okay,
it.
done.
And